Joining us now on the Newsmaker Hotline, Jack Posobiec. Jack, thanks for taking some time, man.
Hey, Chris, how's it going? Great to be on with you, man.
Hey, I appreciate it. So I saw a tweet that you put out a few minutes ago, and it said, if Trump were losing, the assassination attempts would be unnecessary. What's the latest on the assassination attempt, and what are you hearing?
Well, of course, Chris, I would have to ask you, which assassination attempt are you talking about? Because we seem to be having another one every time we turn around. Now, of course, this latest assassination attempt down at Trump International Golf Course, West Palm Beach, involving this individual, Ryan Wesley Routh, 58 years old, originally from Florida, North Carolina, also has a residence in Hawaii, appears to be an individual who was, again, deep, as the media has been trying to downplay this, was deeply affected by mainstream media propaganda to view Trump as a dictator, to view him as a Hitlerian figure. Also someone, by the way, who seemed to be indelibly radicalized and committed to the cause of the Ukrainian war, and someone who had actually gone to Ukraine, participated in some foreign fighter activities, potentially even participated in some of the training that took place for foreign fighters over in Ukraine, has now traveled back to the United States and apparently is using some of the things, or attempted to use some of the things that he learned in Ukraine to conduct an assassination attempt / domestic terrorism event on President Trump himself.
It's crazy, though, because with all that information that you just said, we can find this information online, but the mainstream media still is telling us that, the motive is unclear. Why are they gaslighting us with that?
Well, it really is amazing. I do something where I'll just go and I'll check my local newsstand every morning, and I've been doing it for years, even since I was, a teenager, and just see all the headlines. And when Trump does something, they attack him like crazy, and then one of these guys comes out, and you will see his politics were unclear, or he had quixotic politics, or his motives were not known immediately to investigators. And it's very clear from the reasoning what's going on here. What they're doing is they're trying to shade away the possibility of left-wing violence, because the media has been so committed, and certainly even over the past week, their number one narrative has been the right-wing violence. Right-wing violence is about to happen. Springfield, Ohio, Trump and Vance are inciting violence, et cetera, inciting violence against migrants. By the way, they've been doing this to Donald Trump since he came down the escalator day one during his campaign, and they are terrified of the notion of left-wing violence actually taking off and getting traction in America, even at the same time as we have now seen 2 assassination attempts against President Trump in as many months.
So it's crazy. It's crazy. But as you're watching this and you see that the mainstream media is, they knew this guy. They've interviewed him. The New York Times had interviewed him. CBS had interviewed him. Are you wondering if anybody in the media maybe could have told him, hey, there's a spot in that fence where, that's where we take our pictures. You get a clear line of sight on him at that golf course. Or is that a bridge too far currently?
Well, look, Chris, we have to absolutely examine his communications with media. We know this is someone who is in direct comms with multiple mainstream media outlets. A lot of these journalists are now coming forward almost bragging that they had communications and text messages with this individual and high-level organizations. We're talking New York Times, we're talking CNN, we're talking CBS. They're all over the place. And so this guy had direct communication with high-level journalists. Not only would I want to see whether or not they provided him access to, as you correctly point out, by the way, a place where journalists have been known to go to take photographs of President Trump while he's golfing, but also the evidence of that GoPro, the existence. So he had this GoPro video next to 2 backpacks, and the backpacks contained ceramic tile, which were placed alongside the fence line to create a sort of makeshift body armor so that he could use for a cypress nest or a hide site, as the Army would call it, in order to protect himself should he take oncoming fire. But my other question is that GoPro. Did he reach out to anyone in media recently and say, hey, I'm going to have an exclusive video for you soon. Pay attention because you're going to be getting it from me. Did he have any communications? He clearly wanted to share this out. He clearly wanted to take a video of this. He clearly was out there trophy hunting, as Eric Prince told me yesterday on my show, that was there anyone in media that he was trying to place this story with? And did any of these journalists who had direct communication with him have any foreknowledge that this was going to take place?
Well, and then it leads to the next question, because it does seem like he had foreknowledge that this was going to take place. He was sitting in the tree line for 12 hours. They say that this was a last-minute decision. So was it a happy little accident that he was there and Donald Trump showed up to play golf, or did somebody tip him off that Trump was going to be going to play golf that day?
Look, this is a huge, huge security breach. And the idea that someone, again, with a rifle, with a scoped AK-47, could sit outside the president's golf course, where certainly the Secret Service knew that the president would be going, even if it wasn't on the official schedule, that they didn't send one drone in 12 hours. By the way, if you take a drone with basic FLIR, forward-looking infrared, or infrared, IR technology, and send it down that tree line, if you went at night, at nighttime, this guy's 98 degrees, 98.6. Palm Beach at nighttime right now, it's still probably in the 70s. Even during the daytime, if it's in the 80s, he's going to light up. He's going to light up like a Christmas tree. So even during the night, even under the cover of foliage, one drone would easily have been able to pick up a shooter in the bushes, especially if he's in the prone position, if he's attempting to take a shot, all of these things. Or just a basic patrol driving around to see that there was a Nissan Xterra that was suspiciously parked along a random stretch of the parkway there alongside the golf course for that period of time. No, something doesn't add up here. Something clearly doesn't add up. Why was he allowed to be there for 12 hours? Why weren't basic security procedures followed? And how did he know, of course, that the president would be there on that day when it wasn't on the public schedule?
Well, President Trump in the interview last night on the Twitter Spaces, which I'm sure you heard, he praises Secret Service. He praises them running into the line of fire. But from your vantage point, is this another Secret Service failure?
Well, it's obviously a Secret Service failure. And then the question then comes down to, was it a failure of the agents who were there defending him on the golf course? No, certainly. We're told basically that President Trump was playing on the fifth hole, and so agents were sweeping ahead on the sixth green to look for potential threats, and it was one of those agents who eventually encountered and engaged this shooter. But what I would say is that it's clearly a failure of the leadership of both the Secret Service and Ryan Routh, who apparently visited Mar-a-Lago yesterday, and then, of course, Department of Homeland Security Secretary Mayorkas. And we even have reporting now that Secretary Mayorkas has been the one putting pressure on the Secret Service to not comply with congressional investigators when it came to the first assassination attempt. And we're actually working on, as you mentioned, we're doing a book, Bulletproof, the assassination attempts on Donald Trump and the truth about them. And we've actually worked over the night this past, 2 nights ago here, to make sure that we could include as much information about the second attempt in Bulletproof, and it's up on Amazon and everywhere. But what we were able to find is that speaking with senators' offices like Senator Johnson, Senator Grassley, Senator Hawley, they told us to a man that the information has been completely stovepiped by the Department of Homeland Security. And so Secret Service is situated under the Department of Homeland Security, and they're clearly playing politics. And it's a strange game, by the way, where President Biden will call President Trump and say, what can I do? What can I give you extra? How can I help you? Mm-hmm. And President Trump mentioned in that Spaces as well, they said, I need more security. And then they'll go back to Mayorkas and he'll deny it.
It's just round and round we go. Did you expect when you were writing the new book, Bulletproof, that before you could even release it, you'd have another assassination attempt?
Well, I wouldn't say that I was surprised. I certainly hoped that that wouldn't be the case. But given the glaring security failures that we saw in the previous attempt with Thomas Matthew Crooks of Butler, Pennsylvania, where I visited, Trump Palm Beach, obviously I've been to many times, that it didn't seem like they were taking it seriously. It didn't seem like they had actually given him the security posture that they needed. It didn't seem like they were taking the threat seriously. And so, unfortunately, I wouldn't say that I expect one to come this quickly, but I certainly am not surprised. We're
talking with Jack Posobiec. He's got a new book coming out called Bulletproof, which you definitely need to pre-order. Jack, as you're looking at the second assassination attempt, what questions do you want answered? What red flags are you noticing immediately? And what is like your gut reaction on how this went down?
Well, look, of course, my main thing is, again, basic security posture. Just being familiar with with UAV technology, drone technology from both my time in the military and also my reporting on the Ukraine-Russia war, which, by the way, this individual would have had direct knowledge of. Everybody knows Ukraine-Russia is a drone fight. It's all about drones. They are the number one threat there. So why were drones not being used? You could easily have Secret Service running drones, local law enforcement. The Trump properties, by the way, and unfortunately it looks like he's going to have to hire private security or some sort of private contractor firm of former Special Forces types, Eric Prince types, to go in there, actual pipe hitters to go in and protect himself. That because this was not used. I would also say one thing that I do look for, and I am started to be worried about, is that so we've seen some tactics from the Ukraine-Russia war now come back to the United States. One of the tactics, and I've been speaking to a lot of my veteran friends, a lot of guys who are currently serving, one of the most dangerous tactics that we've seen used in that conflict easily could have been done here on the golf course. And perhaps if this individual had more technical prowess, he would have been able to accomplish it. And that is the use of the FPV drones, or these kamikaze drones. Essentially what they are is they take an IED and attach that IED, in which we all know from the global war on terror in Iraq, Afghanistan, and attach that to a commercially available drone. And those things are extremely deadly. They are hard to take down. And if you go up against a golfing party, you are probably going to take out a few people before that thing comes down. And so President Trump absolutely needs to start taking his security seriously, and of course the security of his family. He's got a son who is going to a very high-profile school in New York City right now that everybody knows about. We're in the middle of a contentious election, less than 50 days away, and security is going to be absolute paramount.
Yeah, and I've seen those drone videos from the Ukraine-Russia war. It's absolutely horrifying to think that could be coming here. What changes with President Trump moving forward on the campaign trail following this second assassination attempt?
Well, look, I know there's been some calls for him to suspend his rallies. I know there's been calls for him to stop golfing. Just knowing President Trump the way that he's been for the last couple of years, I don't think he's ever going to stop his rallies. Certainly not at this point in his election cycle. And just knowing his golf being his safe place, his happy place, his place to get away and try to relax from the rigors of it all. It doesn't seem like golf would be something that he would stop doing. That being said, psychologically, he's going to be on that golf course, and he's always going to be thinking for the rest of his life now, what's around the next corner? What's over that next dune? What's over that next hill? What's in that tree line? Do you see anything sticking out, et cetera, et cetera? And so what changes is he going to have to do? When it comes to the rallies, I would suggest that if he's going to continue doing outdoor rallies, that he should move for doing those airport hangar rallies that he was famous for in 16 and 20, where he'd fly into the hangar and walk off the plane and then be able to speak from inside that airfield. Sometimes generally they were smaller airfields in the Rust Belt swing states, because look, that's already a hard point. So it's generally impenetrable from bullets to be able to get into this. It's very well secured. And then just having an airport, as they already exist, they have a higher security posture and a higher profile than would be any public facility. Actually, in Butler, Pennsylvania, the original plan was to hold that at the Butler Regional Airport, but there was a conflict on that day, and so they decided to deflect down to the Butler Farm Show. That was also something that was done last minute, as apparently this last minute change to the schedule was for his golfing trip. And so when we look at these situations, he's got to find places outside that are more secure for him to be able to go. And so those airfields, I think, do present the best option.
Hey, Jack, I think you nailed it, man. And I really am looking forward to your new book. You can order Bulletproof on orderbulletproof.com and get a signed copy. Are you still doing that?
We are actually, yeah. So orderbulletproof.com if folks want to get a signed copy, and just, you can go to Amazon or wherever if you want to get the regular Bulletproof copy for yourself or for your friends. I do also want to point out, though, that this book is a living document. And what I mean by that is this is the Bulletproof Project. And one thing that we've done is I've actually hired, because I don't trust the federal government on this, and as I mentioned before, the Department of Homeland Security has been stovepiping this investigation. We have hired a private investigative firm that is now operating on the ground in the western Pennsylvania area, so Bethel Park and the regions around Butler, and that investigation is ongoing. And we are now working to see if this firm has licensing or can work with firms in Florida to start conducting investigations there, and also dig into North Carolina and Hawaii for the second shooter. And so we plan for this investigation to be ongoing. So Bulletproof has actually now become the Bulletproof Project, and we are going to be pushing out new additions and new updates as this investigation continues.
But before I let you go, was there one thing that you learned while doing this investigation into Butler that made you go, "Oh my gosh, like I couldn't have imagined this in a million years"?
Well, looking at Butler, as the main thing that I would have to say is when I visited it myself, and that was the biggest oh my gosh moment, because there's something about the area there. There's something about the layout where it just seems bigger. It seems much bigger on camera and on video and on the maps and the overhead views and we do include all that in the book, of course. But when I was able to walk the grounds for myself and actually stand right next to the AGR building and look towards the fairgrounds where President Trump was standing, it just seems so much shorter of a distance than you get from all the videos. And it really does, and there's nothing in between. There's no, it is a direct, clear line of sight between that building and where the president was standing that day. And so the biggest oh my gosh moment was standing there for myself, realizing that this was a kill box. This was an absolute kill box, and the fact that there was no coverage on that roof specifically, which was the most deadly rooftop for a sniper to use to try to take out President Trump, really just makes, I think, everyone realize the system would be blinking red to try to understand why there was no coverage of this roof.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you coming on the show. Really looking forward to your new book, Bulletproof. You can get a signed copy at orderbulletproof.com. You can pre-order on Amazon. Jack Posobiec, where can people find you on Twitter and all of those things?
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah, if you want to find me, you can always just look up, MSNBC, Media Matters, SPLC. Those guys, they Raw Story, the Far Slate, all of your worst far left rags, because apparently they can't seem to stop talking about me.
Love it. Jack Posobiec, hey, appreciate you taking some time, man. Thank you so much.